Good morning. Today we are continuing on our journey, Fruitfulness on the Frontline. Fruitfulness on the Frontline. And our theme for today is being mouthpiece for truth and justice. Mouthpiece for truth and justice. 1930s. Early 1930s, Germany was not the happiest place on earth. The country was dealing with the consequences of the recession. There were a lot of political fightings, both within the parliament, but also involving physical fightings on the street between those affiliated with the left, or political left, socialist, communist, Marxist, and those affiliated with the right, political right. Such as most prominent National Socialist Workers' Party, and who were led by Adolf Hitler, and their paramilitary affiliate, we know as Sturmabteilung, or stormtroopers, SA, brown shirts sometimes we refer them as. One of these fightings in early 1931 led to SA troopers from Berlin attacking a dance bar where the left-wing groups were gathering. Communist, socialists and other people were killed and the trial started. It was a well-publicized trial. Representing both sides were lawyers who were affiliated with them or helping them in the past. Representing the left was a young lawyer called Hans Litten. We know that he was of Jewish ancestry, and he was fighting for the rights of workers wherever possible. He was known as the workers' lawyer. When the trial started, he was trying to expose the Nazi party from his part, that they were a party of unrest, violence, and disrespect of the law. When he spoke to witnesses asking questions, he then called for another witness, and that was Adolf Hitler. There in the witness stand, the witness box, he questioned Hitler on two accounts. First, he questioned the legal side of the Nazi party. He said that your head of communications and later propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, he published a pamphlet that says, yes, we are seeking for parliamentary election, parliamentary win, but if that is not possible, then we need to have revolution. And if need, we need to use fists, physical fighting. Hitler was trying to explain, defend himself that Goebbels was acting on his own accord, but it was difficult to prove. And the other side that Litten was trying to prove is that Nazi party were claiming to be party of peace, yet they're involved in attacks and violence. They were claiming to be protecting those who are vulnerable, yet they were attacking. Hitler was furious. Some witnesses say that he shouted. The judge did stop interrogation, claiming that it was not relevant to that particular trial. And Hitler never forgot the trial in 1931. Going back to our biblical text, before we go to explain the chapter 12 that was read, we need to understand chapter 11. David sent his army to fight, as the Bible points out, chapter 11 of the 2nd Samuel, time when kings go to war. That is normally spring to autumn. Armies were fighting, and David at home in the evening, looking from his window or balcony, saw a beautiful lady having a bath. We may say a recipe for disaster. He inquired about her, found out that that was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, one of his most prominent military commanders, and a brave commander. He gave order that she be brought to his chamber. When it happened, he slept with her. Soon thereafter, she came to him saying that she was pregnant. Now David gave order that Uriah be sent back from the front line to see him. And then he tried to persuade him to go and be with his wife, to sleep with his wife. When this was not successful, then he tried to get him drunk, all in order to send him back to his wife and sleep. But what Uriah said is, the Ark of Covenant, Ark of God's Covenant, is on the front line. Our soldiers are on the front line. They cannot go and come back home, sleep with their wives. Why should I do that? When David realized that was not possible to do anything else, he gave order to his senior commanders that Uriah is to be sent to a section of the front line where the fighting is going to be the fiercest in order to be killed. And that happened exactly that way. Uriah was killed in action. After some time of mourning, Bathsheba was brought to David's palace. She became his wife and gave birth to his son. Now comes this event that we read in 2 Samuel 12:1. There we read that Nathan, he did not come immediately saying, "Look what you have done. I know everything. God has revealed it to me." Nathan was wise. He used a comparison. He told a story to David in such a way that David would understand right and wrong, justice and injustice. But then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. You are the man." In verse 7. David realized what he had done, and he did ask for forgiveness. Yet, there is the reality and consequences to what has been done. Our first point is speak truth, and I will add this: wisely speak truth. When we are in a situation that we need to bring truth, an important message on its own is a message, but it's important to be delivered with skills and that it will have an impact we expect to have. When speaking truth is not easy, but truth needs to be spoken, as Nathan did in this situation. And Bible teaches to be wise. Use wisdom. Wisely speak truth. And that brings us to our second point. Justice. Justice. We read in this being a mouthful for truth and justice, we read in Amos. It was mentioned in this book as a good example. Amos 5:24. Prophet Amos in the Old Testament, chapter 5, verse 24. "But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream." In Church of England, we have something called the 5 marks of mission. And the 4th mark of mission says, to transform unjust structures of society, to challenge violence of every kind, and pursue peace and reconciliation. Peace and reconciliation. Many of us, if not most of us, have heard of the tragic Essex lorry tragedy. In 2019, at the back of an airtight container attached to a lorry, 39 Vietnamese migrants were found dead, died at horrendous temperatures, nearly 40 degrees in airtight container. They suffocated to death. Recently, just weeks ago, a judge delivered verdict 4 men, in particular, as we are mentioning them, 4 men were sentenced to lengthy sentences, lengthy prison sentences. And this brings a struggle in our contemporary society. Injustice. And a big problem as well, called human or people trafficking. Those Vietnamese nationals, they came, they tried to find better life. Perhaps full extent of their reasons will never be known. But they believe there is a hope for them. Some of their stories we read is that parents raised a lot of money. In Vietnam, they borrowed money for them to come here to UK. And often people, smugglers and traffickers, promise better life, better earnings. Yet, for those who come, when they realize, for many of them, reality is far from being better and nice. It also brings issues of slavery. In this instance, the mother of one of the girls who died in the lorry said that last text message she received from the daughter was that, "Mother, I'm going to die suffocating." And mother believed that it was something related to public transport. The daughter was struggling, too many people. She did not know that her daughter was dying at the back of the lorry. This trial and the sentences, we may ask, family may ask, is it ever going to bring a full justice? We don't know. Yet it is important that we seek justice, that we challenge injustice, that we challenge violence, anything contrary to what we stand for as a society and what we also see in the Bible, and as a church we are also trying to address justice and righteousness. As for David, well, he had to face the consequences. David struggled. He knew that his child will have to die. There will be troubles within his own family. And his child died. He repented, but his child died. Later, with Bathsheba, he got another child, and they named him Solomon. We would know him as King Solomon. As for Hans Litten, as I said, Hitler never forgot or forgave what Litten did. In 1933, just 2 years after the trial, Hitler came to power. He became Chancellor of Germany. Soon thereafter, Hans Litten was arrested. One of the big troubles at the time was burning, or the Reichstag, German parliament, on fire. The left wing were accused and tried. During that period, Hans Litten was arrested. He was sent from prison to prison and later went to Buchenwald concentration camp. And finally, he ended in one of the most infamous Dachau concentration camp. There he was repeatedly tortured, maltreated, and struggled. On the 5th of February 1938, Hans Litten committed suicide. He spoke truth. He sought justice. And for that he faced death and torture. Now, that doesn't mean that each and every one of us will face the same. Yet, we are called to seek truth, to speak truth, and seek justice. And I will add this: wisely speak truth and seek justice. I will finish with a prayer. With a prayer for this particular moment. Father, help me to love mercy, seek justice, and walk humbly before you on my front line. Give me ears to discern where falsehoods reign, eyes to see where injustice has its roots, wisdom and courage to cultivate truth and justice. For your glory may it be. Amen. This prayer was written in this particular chapter, the book Fruitfulness on the Frontline. And finally, I will just say again and repeat. Wisely speak truth and seek justice. Amen.